Hi, welcome to Monday Night Chat episode 154. We got three segments today. We've got the first segment being Let's Listen. This is where we invite a youth to our program and listen to their views and also to interact a bit. The second segment is going to be on This Week in Parliament, where we round up last week's Parliament activities. And then the third segment is going to be Hot Topic, where we talk about Rafizi Ramli's return. If we have time, we're going to do the fourth segment on Q&A or question time. Okay? So without further ado, let's start with Let's Listen. Hi guys, joining me today is Dashini, my officer, Dashini. My faithful intern, Wen. Wen, how are you? Good. And then our guest today is Miss Lee Kah Yee, right? So, Kah Yee, the three of us gonna sit here and we're gonna interview you, okay? And then you can ask some questions back to us also. That's a very simple format. First things first, let's just ask Kah Yee to introduce herself. She is from AIESEC, okay? So maybe Kah Yee can tell us how old are you, what are you studying, and what is AIESEC exactly? Okay, Kah Yee, to you.
All right, thank you. I would like to preface by saying that this is my first public interview. So if there's any mishaps, I apologize in advance. But to introduce myself, my name is Kah Yee, and I'm currently a year 2 pharmacy student in Taylor's University. In fact, I just started my first day today. Yep. And previously, I was the Vice President of Incoming Global Volunteer at AIESEC in Taylor's University. And I finished my term as Vice President in February 2022. So I'm currently the alumni of AIESEC in Taylor's University.
Okay, great. Can you tell us a little bit more about AIESEC? What exactly is AIESEC? And how many members you have in the Taylor's branch?
Right, so for AIESEC, at its core, it's about youth leadership development. So everything we do is centered around youth leadership. And personally, for our branch, we have around 50 plus active members at any time. Yeah, because we conduct 2 recruitments. So that's the approximate number.
Okay, so you have 50 plus people in Taylor's. Now, how many in Malaysia are under this AIESEC program? How many branches are there, and how many members do you estimate to be in AIESEC?
So we have 13 local chapters in Malaysia, and they span across West as well as East Malaysia. So we're quite inclusive on that. And if I have to estimate, we have around 1,000 to 1,500 members. Yeah, I give a rough estimate of about 50 to 60 members in each branch as well. And some
Okay,
may go up to 80. Yeah.
okay. So those are quite good, impressive numbers, lah. So this is a youth movement, right? To develop leadership. Is
Yes,
that
I'll
the core
say
issue?
Yes,
Yeah.
I would say it's a youth movement. Mainly, our focus has been youth development, mainly in terms of conducting community projects. But recently, we have also branched into the business side of things where we engage with multinational companies and provide case competitions or even challenges and internship to our members as well as externals who are interested to participate.
Okay, good, good. I'm gonna now ask my fellow, officer and intern whether they have any questions to ask you. Who wants to start? Dashini, maybe?
Sure,
Yes, I
sure.
can go, boss. Yep. Okay. So I actually went through went through AIESEC and what AIESEC entails did as well, and it's very impressive. But I do have a
Thank
question
you.
specifically regarding AIESEC's volunteer program, which you mentioned that you're actually the vice president of, and I believe it has to do with SDGs, right, and meeting SDGs. So maybe you can walk us through what the program was like, what exactly, or how exactly you engaged youth and things like that.
Right, so for our community projects, I would say they are quite excruciating in the sense that we have audits all year round to make sure that our projects are at its highest quality when we deliver it to our volunteers. And when we say we have audits, we have to tailor our projects so that it aligns with a specific sustainable development goal, yeah, which is launched by the United Nations. And specifically for AIESEC in Taylor's University, we mainly focus on the SDG 4, which is quality education, as well as SDG 3, which is about health. Yeah. And for our projects, we have two SDG 4 education projects and one SDG 3, which is the healthcare project. Yeah, and among them, we cover refugee education as well as workshops to enhance confidence in youth as well as their STEM knowledge. We also spread cancer awareness. Yeah, so that's roughly what our organization do in general.
Okay, good, good. When is our intern? And he's only 19, so he hasn't gone to university yet. In fact, he's junior to you, lah. But when do you have any question whatsoever about Isaac or about Kah Yee? Maybe ask her for some advice or something. I don't know.
Well, I've also read through the AIESEC website, and I found that the visions of AIESEC are very clear cut, which is an empowering others, develop self awareness, be solution oriented, and be a world citizen. How would you say your experience in AIESEC cultivated these visions for you?
Right, so those four are called the leadership qualities. So we actually generated that based on a survey that we give out to the youth, and we determined that these four qualities are what the youth aren't seeing in our leaders nowadays. Yeah, which is what you mentioned about solution oriented, and also being a world citizen, being self aware, as well as empowering others. And I would say how my journey and Isaac shaped all of that is that they would constantly put you in a very challenging environment. Firstly, for me, is that I was in charge of managing three projects, and for my team, we have a team of 16 people. So it was really largely out of my comfort zone most of the time, and through that, it really helped me to, you know, understand myself better. What are my strengths and what are my weaknesses? And at the same time, it also kind of made me have to empower others because in order to run three community projects, I cannot do it alone. So I would have to, in some way, empower my peers so that they also feel relevant towards their community and they feel a sense of purpose that they want to contribute to the community as well. Yeah. And in terms of solution oriented, there's always going to be a lot of crisis going on. Like maybe a partner pulls out, or like we have a member quitting, or even there are some mishaps here and there. So it's a lot of crisis management, I would say. Yeah. And lastly, for world citizen, I would say it largely contributes to the fact that we accept volunteers from any nationality. Doesn't matter whether you're Malaysian or you're not Malaysian. We accept everyone as long as you want to make a positive change towards the community. So from there, I also learned how to understand other cultures and accept them for who they are, and also collaborate together peacefully. Yeah, that's how I would kind of summarize how Isaac really, shaped my leadership qualities.
That's very good. I think when are you interested in Isaac? If there's a Isaac in the university that you end up in, maybe you should go lah.
Yeah, there are 13 branches, and they're also available worldwide. So, if your university happens to have one, you can always, connect them and like ask if they have any open positions or if they're recruiting. Yeah.
Sure
Okay,
thing.
who has any more questions out there? Dashini, you want to ask some more? Yep.
Yes, I have a question. Okay, I think it's so interesting that you're
Wait.
involved in a.
Before that, Dashini,
Mhm.
you did the Isaac as well?
Me? No, no,
Ah,
no. I was in another student organization.
oh, so you
KPUM.
didn't do Isaac
No, no, no. So I'm curious to know because I was also a student activist,
leader.
or is that the student leader? Yeah, that's the term for it. So how did you end up, Kai, in student organization like this, and what made you start essentially volunteering? Because I think that's always a very interesting pathway how you end up doing this kind of work. So
Mm.
how did you end up doing it?
Right. So, for some context, I went to an SMJK school. So, in particular, I was an alumni of Catholic High School, Petaling Jaya. I'm not sure if you are aware of this school, but I basically coursed through my entire high school days just cramming and studying for my SPM. And I didn't really feel like I had many experiences out my belt. And in particular, I really wanted to try volunteering. So when I went to college in Taylor's, I was surveying around for organizations that were, you know, doing community service and such. And that's when I stumbled across AIESEC. In fact, that time AIESEC was hosting this unique program called the Global Volunteer Program, where you could actually travel overseas for a certain period of time, usually 6 weeks, to volunteer at the local community. And from there, you also learn about their culture and such. So that's how I signed up in AIESEC. Yeah, but in the end, I did not end up volunteering in another country, but somehow I ended up helping to facilitate global volunteers come into Malaysia and understand our local culture, as well as contributing to the community, specifically Subang, because Taylor's is in Subang. Yeah, and along the way, I found that it was, it's a really interesting area because I would say AIESEC is not really just about, volunteering and community projects, because that's what usually what clubs like the Leo Club, or maybe in our university specifically, we have this club called the Community Service Initiative. What really differentiates it is that it also imparts a entrepreneurial mindset in their members, because I had to learn a lot of new skills, like how to communicate to a large number of people, people who don't speak my language specifically, and also a lot of dealing with different departments, like when we have to run a project, we have to calculate a budget, and we also have to identify like the human resources and stuff. So that's when I decided that this can be a really good platform for me to not only dedicate my time to a good cause, but also upskill myself, because I believe that when you go, no matter where you go in the future, project management will always be a very valuable skills, and critical thinking, as well as the, I would say, communication skills, they'll always be relevant. So that's how I stayed in AIESEC for, I would say, 3 years before I decide that it's time for me to step down.
This is good. This is good stuff, man.
Mhm.
Okay, let me move on to another subject. Like the point of Isaac, from what I understand, is to get to impart leadership training for youth, right? What is it that you
Yes.
see? I'm in this program of ours called Let's Listen. We're trying to understand the youth mind and what are the challenges they face. In your opinion, what do you think is the biggest challenges faced by youth today? In terms of their I suppose their capacity or their vision of things. Yeah?
I would say in the biggest challenge for youth is that a lot of times they feel that they do not have a voice, or at least they feel like they don't deserve a voice. Yeah, and because of that, they don't utilize their voice to impact something bigger than themselves. Yeah, the reason why I say this is because I would say that when I was in my foundation year, I could really see a huge difference between the people I was hanging out with in AIESEC and also my classmates. A lot of them were really shy, and they didn't know what was their voice or what they stand for. So as I progress to my degree year, I do see some of my peers making decisions that probably isn't their own. For example, they make decisions based on what their friends say or what their parents tell them. Like, I'll take this course, do this thing because it'll be good for you, but it's not because they truly want to do it. And because of that, there's this butterfly effect where they take choice A, and then they're led to like choice B, and suddenly it's out of their control, and they graduate, they work a job that maybe they like or they don't like, and as time passes, they just feel that their voice is silenced. They don't fight for themselves anymore. So I think this definitely is one of a really big challenge for youth nowadays. And I'll say it also applies in terms of political activism. Like maybe this is also part of why youth is not really involved in politics in a sense. Yeah, seen by I would say the low representation of youth in the political landscape as well. You always see the same names, Shai Shadi. That's the only person I know who's a youth. And the like.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Dashini, you
Mhm.
have any follow up question on this?
I do actually. So I think I'm curious to know then, what do you think would help people or young individuals to find direction essentially, or know, aside from AIESEC, I don't think AIESEC, it's amazing, but maybe some people are not going to join or, go into AIESEC right now. Maybe they've already left uni, right? So for those individuals, what do you think, as a member of the youth, what do you think can help them in getting a sense of direction, sense of purpose? What do you think they can do? Anything?
Mm. Yeah, I would say most importantly is to always understand your personal values, because there are many things that can change in your life, but one of the things that don't really change is your personal values. And I would say a lot of times when people have lost their sense of purpose is because they're not doing things that adhere to their personal values. And some people might ask, how do I identify my personal values? That's when, having extracurricular activities come in. Doesn't have to be a club or even joining AIESEC in a sense, even though it will help you quite a lot. It's
Understood.
as simple as taking up a hobby, or joining an event that might interest you. And slowly you just start the elimination process where, oh, I like this, I don't like this interests me, this this is not my cup of tea. And eventually you'll kind of have this framework where you can identify what are truly your values. And from there you can take a like step-by-step approach to finding what ultimately is your purpose in life. Because life is life is complicated. And you're not like born and then someone tells you what your purpose in life is. You just kind of navigate along your way through.
And
And
figure it out.
yeah, personally think it's the meaningful part of it. Yeah, because if your purpose is just handed to you, then it doesn't mean anything. It's only meaningful because you struggle a lot to identify what you truly care about. And that's when you truly craft a purpose that is solely your own and unique to you.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I agree. That's really poignant. Your purpose cannot be handed to you. You need
Yeah.
to find it, and that's what the benefit of it is, or that's when it means something. When do you have
Yes.
any questions?
Yeah, I think I can also tie it back to a YB story, because I read
Oh
that
yeah.
you were once a corporate lawyer and then you branched into public service. So I guess that's also how you slowly realize that corporate is probably not your cup of tea, and then ventured into public service in the end.
Yeah, no, actually, corporate is my cup of tea. No, no. When I was very young, I was already very political. When I was 12 years old, I
Mm.
organized my first strike in my boarding school. Of course, I
Oh.
have a privileged life. I go to a very expensive international school in Singapore. But I suppose the education system molded me early on to know what my real purpose is. Um, and of course, I come from a Chinese family, so the purpose is to become a lawyer, to help the family business. And you're right, lah. So when I was in university and when I was in high school, very political. I joined Oxfam, I joined Greenpeace, I joined Amnesty International, and then when I came back to Malaysia, I became a corporate lawyer. Yeah, and I was good at it. To be fair, lah. Yeah, I don't think I disliked it, but I have a very simple policy or philosophy in life. My philosophy is just to do the best you can in anything that you do, right? But then the opportunity came for me to join politics, so I just joined into politics, and that's the truth of the matter. But
Mm.
what you talk about purpose in life is very important. I think in Malaysia we don't emphasize a lot in the schools of who you are. I remember in my old school at the age of 12, 13, we are taught to think about your ego and your id, and we're taught very early to understand our rights and what is important, and then we come very political by the time we're 15 or 16, right? So that's one thing that Malaysia can try and improve on. But before I go any further, let me get Wen in. Wen, do you have a question to ask?
Mm, well, I think maybe it's Malaysia's culture that mostly shapes us to be less critical thinking and more so be less so develop a conformity. Is that the word?
Yeah, that's right.
conform to influence, conform to
To your
maybe
parents.
parents, friends, even social media. In your opinion, how would you combat these influence?
How would I combat the influence of other people against what I truly want?
Yes, yes.
I would say really takes a lot of practice to sometimes say no to things that you don't identify yourself with. Yeah, I would take I'll take a very personal example. So personally for me, pharmacy is not my first choice of study. Yeah, my first choice of study is actually psychology because I find the human mind very fascinating, and you know how a person's mood can affect them in so many ways, and how a single person can affect the entire world in so many ways. It's just human mind is very fascinating. But my parents are like, I don't think you'll get a good career in the future if you study psychology because you'll be dealing with like cuckoo people because they just assume that people who look for like psychology services are people who have problems with your mind or something. So yeah, it was a constant battle because that's something that I'm really interested in. But my parents just think that like every Chinese parents does, you have to look for the stable career, and you'll figure out about your passions later on. Yeah, so at the end, what came to a compromise was that pharmacy is, I would say, related to psychology in a way. I really came to appreciate the pharmacy practice when I'm in the course itself, because we when you go to a pharmacy, you talk to a pharmacist, they counsel you on drugs and stuff, and that's when I realized that this is also really psychological. How you deal with your patients, the way they react to you, how you're going to deliver bad news or good news, and how you kind of understand how they are feeling, and also just delivering like good customer service in general. So eventually I decided to go for pharmacy because I think even though it does not adhere 100% to what I would love to study, it is relevant. Yeah. So I'll say, in terms of how to combat the influence, honestly, there's no, right way to combat the influence. But I would say no matter what situation you're put into, you really learn to understand what you're looking at first before jumping at the conclusion that, oh, this is something I don't like and I will never like it forever. Because a lot of times influence changes because our mind changes all the time. Maybe today you don't like this certain thing, but in the future you would come to appreciate the beauty of that thing that you used to dislike. Yeah. So I'll say a lot of times it's not just about combating the influence, but also learning to understand before ultimately deciding whether you should follow it or not. Yeah.
Okay, this is good. We're gonna have one very last question. In fact, we will turn the table for you. You can ask us any question. You can direct it to me or Shini or even when. Yeah, before
Mm.
we end this interview, do you have any questions for us?
Right. Okay. I think my question would be, maybe each of you can share an experience where, you really took up a leadership opportunity, and, what were your lessons on it, and, what has impacted you after that experience, since we're talking about leadership right now too.
Okay. Maybe I'll start lah since I'm I'm the member of parliament and leadership is part of my role. Um, it's very important in leadership to have conviction in what you stand for, what you believe, right? And what you believe. When I was 16, what I believe and what I was believing in my 20s, and now what I believe in my 50s is all different. It develops over time. So for younger viewers out there, I must say that I started off very left wing, at university extreme. I wouldn't say extreme left, but left for sure. And then when I came back to corporate Malaysia, I became more centrist, even leaning to the right. But as I start becoming a taxpayer, I see all this corruption going on in this country. and that I realized the corporate system and all this is really quite bad for the world in terms of everything, whether it's climate change or whether it's inequality. Then I'm more to the left now, much more. I'm like center left, I would say. Yeah. So you must start with that conviction. What is it you fight for? So for me, it has always been about standing for the poorer person or the weaker person, and that has continued. But not to be too rigid in your worldview, and allow yourself the freedom to move from one wing to another, or one set of beliefs to another. You eventually settle down to what is comfortable to you. And that, to me, having that conviction allows you to create a leadership role, and then the rest is about communicating and being fair to people. Okay, Dashini, you want to join in and vet, please?
Yeah, I think I'll just briefly mention before I pass it on to Wen. I think your question was what leadership opportunities we took up and why or how our thoughts were, right? So I believe when I was in my student union, my respective student union, KPUM, like what YB Wong Chen mentioned, it's really about access and using your position to grant access to others. So KPUM already a very privileged student organization, specifically for law students. But there will be a divide, with amongst law students themselves, those who actually are able to seek employment, get the kind of information you need to, advance into employment and things like that. So for me, it was really about increasing access, allowing as many people to advance. And I think that's very similar to what you were talking about earlier as well, right? To make sure that as many people get tools and skills they need to progress in life, and that everyone starts off with somewhat of an equal footing lah. So Wen, on to you.
Well, I don't have much experience on leadership, but I think last year was chairman of an event that it was a general knowledge competition, and I was the main host. So from the leadership aspect, I didn't think I performed as per my expectations, but it was definitely something that was very new to me because I didn't really like the leadership role, and I just rather be a committee and such. So being a chairman helped me to see the aspect of the leader, and then so when if in the future I'm a committee, I'll understand the leader, and if I'm a leader, I'll be also mindful of my committee members. Yeah.
Don't worry, Van. By the time you finish the internship, you'll become a leader. Don't worry. Okay, I think that's all the time we have. This has been a really nice interview, because first thing I didn't know about AIESEC, and you're not a relative of mine, so I don't know anything about you, Kah Yee. Yeah, but you seem very level-headed for your age, right, Dashini? Right?
I
So
completely agree.
this is good. This is really what we call a listen. Let's listen to our youth, and this is good, right? So Kah Yee, if you are having your term break, come and apply for internship with us. I think it'll be good to have you in the office. Yeah.
To be honest, my law knowledge is like out
You
of
don't need it.
so
No, you
You
don't
don't
need
need
law knowledge. You do a lot of community work. We have some policy work and policy ideas, right? When is a data scientist in the office at the moment?
We accept everyone.
Yeah, as long as you're willing to learn, okay, we'll take you in. Yeah. But thank you so much. I really enjoyed this. Yeah, and we are already exactly at the half an hour mark, and then we have to move on to the next program. So Kah Yee, thank you again for joining us. We wish you the very best in your future. Yeah.
Thank you. It was a very fruitful conversation as well. Thank you for hosting me here. And I'm also happy to share my experiences. And lastly, thank you for the connection. Yeah, really flattered and appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
Okay, guys.
see you around. Bye.
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 Okay, let's move on to the next thing, which is this week in Parliament. Okay, Bala, you're gonna lead on this week in Parliament because you were mostly in Parliament. No, actually, that week you're not really, right? Who was there? Serene was there.
This week, actually, I was in Parliament most of the time.
I
Serene was there for
remember
one day.
Oh, Serene was one
Serene,
there. There's only one person is always there. That's when.
Yes,
Yes.
correct.
Okay. Anyway, Bala, you take it away. Let's just start the slides and then we'll have a discussion on this, right?
Okay.
Okay.
So, mana nak chat?
Okay, Monday night chat. Okay, Monday. Okay, so this was last Monday. Now this one was a bit strange because I was asked to chair the Parliamentary Select Committee on Finance and Economy. Normally, I'm the deputy chair. So the chairman, YB Hassan of Rompin, the member of Parliament for Rompin, UMNO, he was tested COVID positive. So when I got there at about 11:45, just before the thing, they told me I have to chair the meeting. But no problem. I mean, I chaired quite a lot of meeting before. So I chaired this meeting, and this is an important meeting because the committee had to consider the Ukraine war and also the impact of the Ukraine war. And this I have to emphasize over and over again every single week. The Ukraine war has an impact, economic impact on Malaysia, right? So in this particular briefing, we had the KSU, the top civil servant in the Ministry of Finance. And then we also had the fiscal head of the Ministry of Finance. So we had Datuk Sri Asri, which is the KSU, and then Datuk Johan, which is the Ministry of Finance Fiscal Department head. And they were basically briefing us on the issue of subsidies, in particular, petrol subsidy. As you know, oil prices went up to 140 at one point. There is the latest report from oil traders. This was reported in Bloomberg as well. The oil prices could go as high as $200 per barrel, unheard of. But they're not writing it off. But ever since then, the prices have been fluctuating downwards to about 100, stabilizing at 100. So what the Ministry of Finance gave us was an overview of how much subsidies can the government sustain with this kind of high oil prices. Bearing in mind, Malaysia is also an oil producer. So on the one hand, we have oil prices going up, so therefore subsidy costs are higher. On the other hand, as an oil producer, we actually make money. So the question is, can the money that we make extra be used to subsidize, and can we maintain it? Now, I can't give you an answer to this because it is a state secret. Okay, all I can say is a lot of analysts out there seems to suggest that it's going to be a real challenge, and the Minister of Finance himself, Tengku Zafar, has stated it will be a real challenge. I cannot give you all details, but the government is struggling on this point. Yeah, and I've already warned people many weeks ago at the start of the Ukraine war that this is going to be a big issue. So going forward, if oil prices remain high and the government cannot sustain the subsidy, then they have to float the price of petrol upwards. It can go up as high as $3. It can go up to $2.80. We're not sure whether the government will do this, but if they do it, all prices of all goods will increase because every single thing that you buy in the supermarket or in the markets require transportation, and transportation cost is petrol cost. So if your roti canai now is at $1.20, it could go up to $1.80 because of the transport cost. In addition to everything else, roti canai has a direct correlation to the Ukraine-Russia war. Yeah, Russia is a big producer of wheat, yeah, which is used to make your roti canai, and the same for Ukraine. And Ukraine, in fact, is the world's biggest producer of sunflower seed. That is a cooking oil, and therefore oil prices will go up in cooking and also for your petrol. Okay, so Monday was a big day. We had a 2-3 hour meeting, lots of details given. Then Tuesday was even a crazier day. Tuesday was, I don't know, for whatever reason, everything accumulated to Tuesday. You go to Parliament, right? I got to clock in. Usually I'm at Parliament at 9 o'clock, very early. I will clock in and then I will have short meeting, very short meeting with Wen or Bala or Serene. Dashini, we're gonna get you into the meetings in July. We've been
Canvas.
overlooking you because you're handling a lot of constituency matter at the moment, right?
Yeah.
But I will get
But
you
it
in
was
July.
relatively short session anyway, boss. It was only 4 weeks.
Yeah,
July one
that's
should
right.
be longer.
July, I think, could be 6 weeks if I'm not wrong, right?
Mm.
But we have this major one coming out on the 11th of April. Yeah. But anyway, Tuesday, let's go back to the timetable. Tuesday, of course, the anti-hopping law did not appear on the order paper. And to be fair, we already know this was going to happen about 2 weeks ago. And, I'm very in tune to the political happening within within Parliament. As I'm the policy chief for Keadilan, so everything also more or less comes to my ears, right? So at 10 a.m. we had a lot of policy meeting on this issue, and we were being briefed about the political solutions to all this. And as you all know by now, you can see that the official statement is that 11th of April, we will definitely have the anti-hopping law being debated. Okay, so 10 o'clock, 11, 12 was all meetings with Dato Sri Anwar, Dato Saifuddin, Dato Joe, all the typical Datos in Parliament. And then at 1 p.m., there was a briefing, a quick briefing amongst Keadilan MPs. Every Tuesday at 1 p.m., we have our lunch meeting, policy meeting. And I usually chair this meeting because I'm the policy chief. But this one I had to attend another event. So I just came in there, had a quick bite, and then discussed a few points, and then I rushed off to the gender responsive budgeting event organized by the Westminster Foundation for Democracy and the NGO called Engender. Yeah. So at 1:15, I had to give a short 5-10 minute briefing on this. But essentially, our office took part in the gender responsive budget event, and that was headed by Ivan, but the foundation was set by Ellie, our former officers. Okay, so and strangely enough, this coming Thursday, I have to talk for another 30 minutes at another gender responsive budgeting event. Why am I involved in this even though I'm not a woman? It's just because as an MP, in our office, we believe in feminist rights and we believe in women rights, and also budgeting is our main job. Yeah. So what we're doing is we're just introducing an aspect of that, which is to be more responsive to women needs in the budget process. Okay. On Tuesday, continue. 2 p.m. No, back one. Rush to the Minister of National Unity event, YB Halimah. She was having a talk about the Indian policies, Indian problems faced by Malaysian Indians community. So this was a dialogue with Indian leaders. But my area has a high percentage of Indian population. I think as high as about 15%, or no, not 15%, about 8-9%. So I just went there, and there's me with Charles having a meeting, and then of course I had a private meeting in Halimah after that, and she's actually invited me to go back to the event, a second round of this event, which is tomorrow. Unfortunately, I'm still under quarantine because YB Yobin, who sits next to me, has COVID-19. So my quarantine ends on Wednesday. So tomorrow we are sending Dashini instead to this meeting in Parliament, right? Dashini, you're all pumped up for the Indian
Yes.
community issues? Yeah.
I'm excited to learn.
Okay, good. Send my best to YB Halimah, the minister. Okay. I already sent a message. She's looking forward to meeting you. Okay.
Can, boss.
Now,
Great.
2:30, I rushed quickly, went to the meeting room next door where YB Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man, the Minister of Environment and Water, was there to answer a question under Kamar Has. So Kamar Has is next to the YB Halimah's meeting. And then I got a photo, we passed him more documentation. And again, he said we will do something about Taman Kinrara in USJ1. And lo and behold, they already started doing something. You can look at our Facebook posting today. Some work has started. Yeah. So we really have to be thankful to YB Tuan Ibrahim Tuan Man, the minister, because he said, politics aside, flood is a problem. We will try to deal with it. Okay. Next, in the midst of everything, I rushed to the Inter-Parliamentary Union meeting via Zoom. Okay. So yeah, this is my 5th event in a few hours. This
What a
one,
day.
I know. The IPU, Inter-Parliamentary Union, is like the United Nations of Parliament. Okay, so they have appointed me about a year ago, less than a year ago, to be a working member of the Science and Technology Working Group. This is where I think there's a Thai fellow and a Chinese from China. The three of us represent the entire region for Asia Pacific. Yeah. So I attended this meeting by Zoom. They are actually having a physical meeting in Bali, but I told them I will not be attending because this is a crucial period in Parliament where we have to vote and we have to vote on legislation. So I joined the Zoom meeting, of course, and I won't say I'm super active, but I did ask a few questions. Yeah. In particular, I asked questions about Ukraine. Whether we have a stand on technology and science, in particular usage of very dangerous weapons being deployed. Okay, can we go back to the slide? I don't know what happened. Is Bala there? Darshini, your voice is off.
Okay, am I back, boss? Okay, can you
Yes,
see
you're
the
back.
slides
Okay.
now? Okay.
No, I can't see the slides.
Hold on. Miss Bala's having some issues. Hold on. Yep. Now I should have the slides here. All right.
Okay. So that's Tuesday. Tuesday was crazy. Okay, so Wednesday. Next slide.
Okay, so let's go to Wednesday. Yep.
Okay, Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday. There's a basic rule in Parliament when it comes to keadilan. If members of Parliament are not interested in debating some issues, it falls onto my office to debate it. So the national forestry is one of the issues that people don't really look at. So I was asked to prepare for this. So I sat down and prepared my speech, read through the bill and prepared my speech. So I spent most of Wednesday morning preparing it, because in the order paper, it looks like it's going to come at item number 4 or 5, right?
Mhm.
So instead, we had, of course, the Sosma debate at 12. This is a controversial one, but everybody wants to debate, so no point lah. I will sit down and let the others who are interested in debating it. That went on, and then I think this is the first time in Malaysian history, parliamentary history, they lost the vote. It's
That's true.
incredible. I was sitting next to Yobin, right? And Yobin and I couldn't believe it. What was going on? It was very strange. First, they in order to vote, right? They call it the bala bagi vote, which is a head count. They had to ring the bell, and the bell is rung for 2 minutes. When the bell is rung for 2 minutes, people rush in to sit in their seats and vote, right? So the first bell went, and then instead of having a vote, right, the speaker, the deputy speaker, who's relatively new lah. He's the guy for Cameron Highlands, I think. Called for recess. So all of us were upset lah, because I think it was quite clear that the opposition had more members than the parliament, than the government side. But nevertheless, he did say that he wanted to vote, because I think they were short of vote. And as the deputy speaker, he is entitled to vote. So they then call in the speaker, Ad Harun. Yeah. So Speaker Ad Harun comes in, then they ring the bell for another 2 minutes. Then whoever's still outside were rushing in, right? And then once the bell stops, they have to count. So they started the counting process. And then we saw 3 members of parliament, the ministers from the government side, walked in. Yeah. So we protested and said, look, no, the bell has gone. You can't be counted. Surprise, surprise. Ad Harun, he ruled in our favor. And because he took away that 3 votes from the ministers that came in late after the bell, we defeated the government, right? 86-84. If the government counted the 3 ministers, they would have 87-86. They would have beaten us, So it was, I couldn't. I mean, of course, we celebrated as a win for human rights. We celebrated as a win for everything. But it was just, thanks to ironic lah, but thanks to Ad Harun's ruling that after the bell, you can't allow those people to come in, right? Otherwise, I can wait there until 12 midnight lah, until I get the numbers correct lah. So you have to say, well done, speaker, right? But this has tremendous impact, because this has never happened in Malaysian history, and at least under my term as a member of parliament, I've never seen this thing happen. And I'm in parliament every day. Yeah. So, this is incredible. The implications are very deep. There are political implications. There are also legal implications here. Okay. So that was Wednesday. Very exciting, very unusual. Now we move on to Thursday, the last day. Again, the Labuan Companies Bill. Nobody wants to debate this because it's boring and it's it's technical. So it falls to my office to debate it. So I sat down, wrote the debate speech, dictated to Bala and Wen, and then they typed it out, and then I brought it back in the hall, made amendments, and then sure enough, I was given the opportunity to debate this at 5 p.m. and I gave my speech, and in particular at that time, The Genting team license 1 MDB explanation also came out, where apparently 45 million was paid to a Genting Lim family member, yeah, to get the power deal done. You know, so that's all inside my speech, and then we got some reporters asking us, and then we gave some interviews. But basically, that was the last one. When I think my speech was the last two for the entire sitting, and then by 6 o'clock, everything tutup already. Parliament is over. We'll be going back for a special session on the 11th of April, and and we should see what happens at the anti-hopping law. That's going to be the crucial, only for 1 day. I heard that if there's a request, we may extend it to 2 days also. Okay,
Yeah.
and that's basically this week in Parliament, right? We are already now at the 9:15 mark, so we are on time. Do you have any questions on this week in Parliament? Anybody needs any clarification before we move on to the hot topic?
We don't have any questions yet, boss, regarding this. But if we do want to talk about Sosma, we can, or we can move on first.
I think I can answer quickly. What questions you have on Sosma?
We don't have any questions from the Facebook
The
comments
public,
themselves.
but you can ask them. Yeah.
I do have a question. So I think there may be a bit of a misconception regarding what the motion itself was and what it means for Sosma, because Sosma itself still exists, but it's that particular section, right, boss? So that's one question. And the other is, what is the significance of a motion from the government, not being able to be passed? What does that mean? I think you actually wrote about it on your Facebook, but maybe we can hear it from you here as well.
Okay. Let's do the Sosma first. The motion is quite simple. The government by July 2022, in about 2 months' time, right? They have to release, or their time frame for that 28 detention without trial, yeah, ends. So the government is thinking that we come here and ask for an extension for another 5 years for this 28 days detention without trial. So that's the technical bit. We, of course, disagree, because any detention without trial is wrong, whether it's for 10 days, 25 days, whatever it is. And also, we already argued many, many times, if you want to charge somebody for a suspected crime, you don't simply arrest people first. You must have some evidence. So if you arrest the person with pre-evidence, then you only need 14 days to charge them, right? At most 21 days. That's the law. How can you detain people 28 days without a single shred of evidence? That's why the Sosma is wrong. At the time of Sosma, when it was passed, when I was member of parliament in my first term, it was, of course, to fight terrorism. Yeah. But even fighting terrorism in Indonesia, they don't detain people without trial. That's why for many, many, many years, we always say Sosma is a watered down version of ISA, and all of us had bad experience with ISA. The big issue is, of course, is a bit hypocritical. Why did we not reform Sosma ourselves when we were in power? Pakatan Harapan for 22 months. That was my first posting and first question to be asked, right? What we know of certain ministers in there, I think in particular it was, we can all identify him, Tan Sri Muhyiddin, who was against it. And also, for some people say even Dr. Mahathir as Prime Minister was against this, right? So, that's why it's when the debate first started, I didn't want to take part because I felt I'll be a bit hypocritical for me too, to debate this issue when we were in power, we did nothing. Yeah, okay. So that was my personal stand. But of course, happy ending at the end. Human rights was upheld, and that's the significance of the Sosma debate. Now, what's the significance of the government losing the motion? The government will only resign if they lose a finance law, a finance bill. A finance bill is like the Income Tax Act or some sort of Stamp Duty Act, or in particular, the budget. Yeah. If you lose a Stamp Duty Act, does it mean that the government collapses? Questionable and arguable, right? If it has a direct impact on the expenditure and the income, yes, you can argue that's the case. But losing the budget will destroy the government. The government has to step down. Okay. So a motion is not even a law. What more a finance law, right? Say, for instance, the government table the unpopular 342 law, which is to fine people more for breach of COVID rules, right? If they lose that, they don't have to resign. They just lose the moral reason to rule. But in Malaysia, where got morality? amongst politicians, nobody will resign lah. There's no honor left, right? You mati lose like how, so that nobody will honorably resign in Malaysia, right? So losing the motion is nothing lah. Yeah, it's nothing. It just shows that the government is disorganized, that the prime minister has no respect from their own members to turn up and vote, because ultimately some 30 MPs from the government side did not appear, and the prime minister appeared. And I heard Azmin Ali wasn't there. I didn't see him, but the newspaper confirmed he wasn't there himself. You know.
Yep.
So all this is what is going on there. There's something wrong in this government, right? Is it because they hate the home minister? They don't like him? He has come out in the press and say, you know, people don't like his face. I don't know, in jest or whatever, right? But I can confirm a lot of people don't like him. So sure, right? So, you know, and he hasn't tendered his resignation. Can you imagine, right? So, you know, by right, he should tender his resignation because it was his motion. He was the proponent, he was the promoter, and he lost. You know, and look again, I stress again, never in Malaysian history, as far as I know, a government has lost a motion or legislation in Parliament. Okay. So let's move on to the quick hot topic. I know we don't have a lot of time today. We got 10 minutes left, but we'll quickly talk about the hot topic. Let's hit the button for hot topic. Okay, hot topic. Well, everybody is more or less talking about it for the last, I would say almost 2 weeks already. Yeah. And that is basically the return of Rafizi Ramli. So today's hot topic is on Rafizi Ramli. Bala, can you put up a very quick PowerPoint on this? Okay, there's a bit of a glitch. Okay, there we go. Okay, first slide. First slide. Okay, there you go. 15 March 2022 on Tuesday, Rafizi Ramli announces he's back in politics. In fact, I spoke to him on Monday. So I was trying to drop a hint that he's going to make an announcement, but we knew about this as early as Saturday before that. Yeah, so it's very good that he's coming back, and he straight away announced that he's going to be contesting the deputy president post in the upcoming Keadilan elections in May. This is good timing because we've been suffering defeats after defeats in state election. So we hope that this will energize the party and stabilize the party in terms of only going forward from now onwards. Okay, and then the next crucial date is the next slide. Yep, the 25th of March, exactly 10 days later on a Friday, Rafizi and Izzah announced the launch of AIESEC Malaysia. Yeah. Now, AIESEC Malaysia is an initiative to recruit volunteers and donors. And the purpose of AIESEC Malaysia is to engage fence-sitters to support political reforms. Now, let me explain this again for everybody's benefit. In politics, roughly 40% of the voters have already decided they are going to vote one political party or one coalition, right? So it's the 60% of the voters, the fence-sitters, they decide the future of the country. So in a very simplistic manner, you can say that, say, Barisan Nasional, UMNO Barisan Nasional has 20% of the votes secured in their belt. The opposition, including Perikatan Nasional, they're also kind of opposition in Johor. Pakatan Harapan has 20%. The bulk of the voters are fence-sitters at 60%. You want to win any election, we have to focus on engaging the fence-sitters. Yeah. So it's very clear AIESEC Malaysia is not for us to enjoy ourselves or promote our own supporters, right? AIESEC Malaysia is really aimed at recruiting the fence-sitters to fight for us, because you want to win election, you need to win over fence-sitters. Okay, so next, is there any more slide? That's it, right? 26. The campaign was on the 26th, right? Yeah, so during the campaign, that was Earth Day, I remember, because we had to turn off the lights in my house. So I had to catch up the video after that. Yeah. So YB Nurul was there. Yeah. She gave a speech. Lee Kang is very close to me. Mani Wana is very close to me. Chen Chung is also very close to me. And YB Akmal in particular also very close to me. We are the three of us. Well, Lee Kang and Akmal are in Parliament. We are lunch buddies. Yeah. So I couldn't attend because I have a COVID quarantine. And I wish you being the best of luck to get back, as healthy as possible quickly. But this is the launch of it. Okay, is there another slide to this? Okay, so from then onwards, there's a continuous battle between Najib and Rafizi, and this is good. This is the thing we've been missing in Pakistan for some time. I remember Najib's PR team is superb. They're on the pulse. This Bosco campaign, he makes all the right statements. He says all the right thing. I don't think it's his personal beliefs. I'm sure he has an entire 20-person team working on it. But Rafizi has decided he comes back, and they're having this back and forth between them, right? Yeah. To me, this appears a repeat of the 2018 political fight that led to the GE14. So I can see that at least it's coming to be, the return of Rafizi Ramli has an immediate impact of some sort, that someone is standing up and answering Najib's calls. Yeah. So that's why we're quite hopeful. Okay, we don't have a lot of time, unfortunately. Next we'll try to answer more questions. But are there any questions on the return of this hot topic, Rafizi Ramli, from the public?
We don't have any on this particular topic, but we do have one regarding Sosma. So maybe we can take that and then wrap it up.
Okay. So next week we will return back and talk a bit more about Rafizi. So please, those who want to have a lot of questions can ask us more. Because I've been doing a few interviews. Ironic, that I do a lot of interviews on Rafizi, but I have not actually addressed the issue in my own program. That's the strange thing. Okay, but now let's take the Sosma question. Yeah.
Okay. Xiaoyi asks, Hamza mentioned, the Home Minister mentioned that he will table Sosma motion again. Is it possible?
Yes, it is possible for him to table anything over and over again. But before he tables it, he needs the cabinet approval, right? Now, cabinet must go and talk to the warlords from UMNO because they didn't turn up to vote, and also need to talk to Azmin Ali, who's in Bersatu, whether he wants to turn up and vote or not, right? He can table, but if he tables and they don't turn up to vote like last time, it's going to be very, very, very embarrassing on Hamza. So that's why we told him. A reporter called me, I think it's in FMT News, asked me, what should Hamza do? Right? To me, I say, forget it, don't table. Yeah? Better you resign. So, Yi Yan, right? Your name? Yeah, Yi Yan. Anyone can table, any government minister can table anything they want. They can table the motion again and again. But before you table, you better make sure that you have the support of your own cabinet, and more importantly, the backbenchers of your coalition. That means people from PAS must support you, people from UMNO must support you, people from Bersatu must support you. If you don't have those, don't table. You'll get an egg in your face, exactly like what happened to him in the last Sosma motion. Okay? Now, do you have any other questions out there?
We don't have a question, but we have a request. Mr. Cheng Huat asks, please invite Encik Rafizi to your program. So I think this shows how excited people are for Rafizi to be back.
Yes, we will invite him, but we have to leave it to him because we are going into a party election in May, right? So PK Kadelan will go into an election mode starting next month. So he's going to be shuttling up and down rather than coming to my program, right? So we will extend an invitation, but it's really up to him. We have to fit his timetable. Yeah, he has to go to all the chabangs, meet the people, in preparation for the party election. I'm not taking a very active part in the party election, but I probably have to make a few trips myself also. So you might even find some Monday night chats might have to be postponed or deferred for that particular Monday. Okay. On that note, so let's bring back the rest of the crew. Yeah. There's everybody else. Okay.
There they are.
Okay. I thought today's program was okay. I mean, the Kah Yee's interview was quite strangely nice. I don't know what it is. Isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, very refreshing, I think. It's just very, very grounded. It was a very grounded interview.
Yeah, because it's not the usual political interview where we are talking about other things, but just to listen to a perspective from a bright young woman, right? And it's good. Maybe we should try to do this more. But next week, I think we're going to bring back a counselor. Is that right? What are we
Yep,
doing
we
next
will
week?
be trying to counselor again. So stay tuned for that. We'll see who's joining us next week.
Okay. On that note, thank you very much. This ends the program for this week. We'll see you again next week. Bye.